Good evening, students. Today, we'll start the new topic. It is human reproduction topic. In human reproduction, first we will have the male reproductive system. Then, that is the anatomy of the male reproductive system. And the female reproductive system, followed by the fertilization process. So next portion, next concepts we will continue while after explaining the male as well as female reproductive system and the fertilization, implantation process, cleavage, division, developmental, like this. So we will start today the human reproduction topic, synopsis. Now, the human reproduction, entire reproductive system in human beings is mainly derives from the reproductive system is mainly derives from the mesodermal layer of developing embryo. During the development of an individual, during the development of an embryo, so your embryo, once it is possessing the germ layers, the three germ layers, ectoderm, endoderm, as well as the mesoderm layer. So during the gastrulate stage of embryo, so here from the developing embryo, it is one of the germinal layer, from the germ layer. So the reproductive system is derived. That is, germ layer is the mesodermal layer of the developing embryo. From the mesodermal layer of the developing embryo, the reproductive system gets derived. In human beings, in humans, the reproductive system which takes place is mainly brought by the sexual reproduction. So why the sexual reproduction is occurs in male individuals, especially in the human beings? This is mainly because of the human beings. They are unisexual organisms. They are unisexual organisms. Unisexual organisms means these are dioecious in nature. These are dioecious animals. So these unisexual organisms, dioecious animals, they are exhibiting the sexual polymorphism. They exhibit the sexual polymorphism, where the male gonad is present in one individual. That individual is a male individual, where the ovary is present in a female individual. The testis is present in the male, and the ovary is present in the female individual. That's why unisexual organisms, they are possessing the particular type of the gonads, particular type of the primary sex organs. So not only the primary sex organs, even though the secondary sexual organs as well as reproductive ducts and accessory glands, we are also observing in these sexually polymorphic individuals like the human beings. Apart from that, so here whatever the fertilization is occurs, the fertilization is internal fertilization we are going to observe. The fertilization in humans, it is internal fertilization. During the sexual insemination, sexual coitus or maybe the sexual reproduction, the insemination is occurs. The insemination brought by the enter of the male genital tract on the male genital external genitalia into the female genital tract. It is whenever the individuals are involving in the sexual coitus or maybe sexual intercourse, the male partner is start to inseminate the sperm cells into the female genital tract. The results in the fertilization is internal. So internal fertilization, once the internal fertilization is occurs, even though the development is also occurs within the body of the female individual, within the womb only. The development is inside or it is within the womb, inside the female body. The development is occurs. Internal fertilization and development is also internal. That is inside. The development is occurs inside the female body. Development occurs inside the female body. Then once this development is complete, so then what happens here? The individual, the one of the female individual is going to be produces, or will be eliminate one of the immature and ones are eliminated out from the female body. That is during the parturition process. During the parturition process, the one of the young one is gets eliminated out, but this young one is immature young one, not a highly matured young one. Because still, so in these newly born individual or maybe young ones, whatever the reproductive structures are there, these are not highly well developed, even though the associated the reproductive tracts or maybe the ducts are also not highly well developed, even though the glands are unable to synthesize or secrete the hormones or maybe the secretions. So that's why so formed individual is referred as the immature ones. Immature individual is going to be produces. That means so that is about the some characteristic feature of the human beings. Internal fertilization is given occurs, and then immature and once are gets eliminated out during the parturition process. That's why the humans are the viviparous individuals. That's why the human beings are the viviparous, which gives birth to the young ones. Directly they give birth to the young ones. The process of human reproduction in human beings, the process of the reproduction is occurs in following steps. So first one is gametogenesis process, followed by the insemination process, insemination followed by the internal fertilization, followed by the formation of the zygote. So formed zygote is undergo the cleavage division. When it is undergo the cleavage division, the embryo is formed. Embryo is undergo the implantation process. Then followed by the organogenesis. internal development. Then followed by the parturition process. So this is a series of events that takes place during the sexual reproduction in human beings. Once the individual is undergo the sexual intercourse, so here before it will be undergo the sexual intercourse, there will be a gametogenesis process. There will be a gametogenesis process. This gametogenesis process is nothing but the formation of the gametes from a diploid germinal epithelial cell or from the gamete mother cell. So the gametes are haploid in nature. The formation of the haploid gametes from a diploid gamete mother cell is referred as a gametogenesis process. So this gametogenesis process is mainly occurs in the gonads, which is occurs in the primary sex organs. The primary sex organs of male as well as female individuals, if you observe, so the male individual possessing the primary sex organ is called as the testis, and the female individual possessing the sexual primary sex organ is called as ovary. It's called as ovary. The testis is both the testis as well as ovary are referred as the gonads. These are referred as gonads in male and female individuals respectively. So where in the testis there will be a formation of the sperm cells. The sperm cells are the gametes. The sperms are the gametes produced in the testis, seminiferous tubules of the testis. So the whatever the gamete sperm cells are there are formed or maybe produced from the gamete mother cell, which is haploid in nature. Likewise, in ovary, there is a formation of the egg cell or maybe the ovum. The ovum is also haploid in nature. The ovum is also haploid in nature. So here, the testis as well as ovary, these are referred as the gonads. But these are also called as the primary sex organs in male and female individuals respectively. But the secondary sexual organs are different. The secondary sexual organs are different. The secondary sexual organs in male individuals, it is the epididymis, vasa efferentia, the vasa deferens, ejaculatory duct, and external genitalia. These are the secondary sexual organs. Then associated ducts are also there. Apart from that, the associated glands are also present. So here these associated glands are like the prostate gland, the seminal vesicle gland, apart from that the bulbourethral glands. So these are the associated glands in male individual. But in female individual, the associated glands like the Scrotum follicle is act as an associated gland. Corpus luteum is also act as an associated gland. And also the follicular cells are also act as the glands. Even though the placenta, apart from that, as in case of the uterus, and even though the ovary itself is act as one of the associate ovary parts of ovary, the parts of the ovary they are also act as the glands. So here associated ducts are also there. Apart from that, in female reproductive system, the skin gland as well as the skin glands are there. So these skin glands are the associated glands. Bartholin glands are the associated glands in female individuals. Then let us start here. The first one, the male reproductive system. Now, we'll start the anatomy of male reproductive system. The male reproductive system is mainly consists of first one, a pair of testis, a pair of testis. So the testes are referred as the primary sex organs. These are referred as the primary sex organs. The second one is epididymis. Vasa efferentia, epididymis, vasa differentia, ejaculatory duct, urethra, external genitalia called penis, external genitalia called penis. The male external genitalia is called penis. Apart from this, associated glands are also there. Associated glands. The associated glands, the first one is seminal vesicle gland, which are occurs in the form of pairs. Paired seminal vesicle glands are there. Prostate gland, which is unpaired ones, which is unpaired. Third one is bulbourethral gland, which is paired ones. Here, 2 in number. Seminal vesicle glands are 2 in number. Prostate gland is only 1 in number. The bulbourethral glands are 2 in number. Total, how many number of the associated glands are present in human male reproductive system? There are about the 5. There are about the 5. The total number of associated glands are present in male reproductive system. But how many types of associated glands are present in male reproductive system? If they will ask, that is only the 3. One is seminal vesicle, second one is prostate gland, the third one is bulbourethral gland. Only the 3 types of glands are present in male reproductive system. But the total number of the glands are 5 in number. Now, let us see the one by one. The pair of testes, if you observe, testis, if you observe, so here these are occurs in the form of pairs. In male individuals, a pair of testes are present. These testes are enclosed in a scrotal sac. In scrotal sacs. These are enclosed in scrotal sac. So here the scrotum, if you observe the scrotum is the dark, highly pigmented skin which is loosely arranged ones, possessing the hairs, the suscept of the testis. They are enclosed within the scrotum. So here is the scrotal sac. So this scrotum is a mainly membrane. It is a skin membrane layer which is loosely arranged ones and possessing the numerous hairs. And which encloses one of the cavity is called as a scrotal cavity. It encloses a cavity is called as a scrotal cavity. It's not a coelomic cavity. The scrotum is present outside the lower abdominal wall. It's present out of the body, outside the lower abdominal wall. It is not present in the abdominal cavity. It's present outside the abdomen. But it is remain intact with that of the lower abdominal wall with the help of the particular structures. The structure of the scrotum is mainly divided into the two scrotal compartments, or it is called as scrotal sacs. The scrotal sacs are mainly formed by the presence of the scrotal raphe, or it is also called as a scrotal septum. This scrotal septum is one of the loose muscular thin membrane layer. It is a loose muscular thin membrane layer which separates the scrotum into the two scrotal sacs. Due to the presence of this scrotal membrane, or it is scrotal raphe. So once these scrotal sacs are formed within the scrotal sacs, in each scrotal sac one testis is enclosed. In each scrotal sac, one testis is enclosed. Like this. Like this. This is the testis. Here is the scrotum. The scrotum is a loosely arranged, the thin pigmented. So it is a thick pigmented skin, loosely arranged ones, possessing the numerous hairs on its surface. Where within this scrotal sac, the testis gets enclosed. So this scrotum is remain in contact with that of, this is a scrotal cavity. Scrotum is remains in attached with that of the lower abdominal cavity. Lower abdominal cavity with the help of inguinal canal. With the help of inguinal canal. The inguinal canal connects the scrotal cavity with that of the abdominal cavity. Lower abdominal cavity is opens into the scrotal cavity through one of the canal is called as inguinal canal. It's called as inguinal canal. There is a connection between abdominal cavity with scrotal cavity. So through one of the structure is called as inguinal canal. Inguinal canal connects the scrotal with that of the abdomen. Second one, the testis is in turn connects with that of the abdominal wall. The testis connects with that of the abdominal wall. Through one of the structure. Through one of the structure is called as a spermatic cord. Is called as a spermatic cord. This spermatic cord connects the testis with that of the abdominal wall. With that of abdomen. It is abdomen cavity is connects with that of the testis with the help of the spermatic cord. With the help of the spermatic cord. So this spermatic cord is mainly formed by the spermatic artery and nerves. The spermatic cord is mainly formed by the one of the connective tissue, which is one of the thicker connective tissue, where it may be possessing the cords. So these cords, they are mainly encloses the spermatic artery veins as well as nerves. With the help of this spermatic cord, the testis is interconnected with that of the abdominal wall or maybe abdominal cavity. So now, the testis is in turn connects with that of inner wall of scrotum. Inner wall of the scrotum with the help of the structure is called as gubernaculum. With the help of the structure is called as gubernaculum. The testis is interconnected with that of the inner wall of the scrotum or scrotal wall with the help of a connective tissue structure is called as gubernaculum. It's called as gubernaculum. Now, Subset of the two testes, they are present on either side of the external genitalia in between the thighs. In between the thighs, behind the external genitalia, on either side of the external genitalia, between the thigh. So here the two scrotal sacs are present, which encloses the testis. Which encloses the testis. That is about the scrotum. That is about the scrotum. Now, during the embryonic condition, the testes are developed from the mesodermal layer in the month of third of the developing fetus, or maybe the developing embryo. In the month of third, so the testes are derived, and these testes they are present within the abdominal cavity only. In the developing fetus, in fetal condition, during the fetal condition, the testes are present in the abdominal cavity. In the abdominal cavity only during the fetal condition. So these are present in abdominal cavity up to the 6th month of the developing fetus. Up to the completion of the 6th month of the developing fetus. So here, once these testes are present within the abdominal cavity of the developing fetus up to 6 months, in the 7th month of the developing fetus, now, so these testes start to descend into the scrotum. Earlier, these testes were present in the abdominal cavity only. So here it is the abdominal cavity. So the testes are present here in the abdominal cavity only. Up to the 6th month of the developing fetus, they are present in the abdominal cavity. But once this 6th month is complete, when the 7th month of the developing fetus begins, in the 7th month only, now the testes are start to descend into the scrotal sac. Into the scrotal sac. The descending up of this testis into the scrotal sacs is mainly brought by the secretion of the one of the hormone is referred as a testosterone hormone. The fetal part, it secretes one of the hormone is called as a testosterone. So this testosterone is responsible for the descending of this testis into the scrotal sac in the month of 7th month of the developing fetus. 7th month of development of this fetus. Now, the fetal part will secrete one of the hormone is called as a testosterone. In the presence of this testosterone, the testis start to descend into the scrotum through one of the canal is called as inguinal canal. Through one of the canal is called as inguinal canal. Through the inguinal canal, it gets descended into the scrotum. It gets descended into the scrotum. Now, suppose in the 7th month, even though in the 8th month, even though after the birth only the testis is not gets descended into the scrotum, means the testis is unable to descend into the scrotum, then such condition is referred as the cryptorchidism. It is referred as cryptorchidism. The testis is unable to descend into the scrotum. It is referred as cryptorchidism. It is referred as cryptorchidism. Instead of this, so here, instead of descending this testis into the scrotum, even in some cases, in some of the human beings, in some of the humans, so where a part of the intestine gets descended, it gets innervate into the, it gets innervate into the scrotum through the inguinal canal. Through the inguinal canal, a part of the intestine gets innervates into the scrotum through the inguinal canal. That means the scrotum is possessing the part of the intestine instead of the testis. Then this condition is referred as inguinal hernia. Is referred as inguinal hernia. That testis, instead of testis, the intestine gets descended into the scrotum part through the inguinal canal. This is referred as inguinal hernia. But in some cases, the testis is unable to descend into the scrotum through the inguinal canal in the month of the 7th of the developing fetus. Then this condition is referred as cryptorchidism. Usually, the testis is going to be gets descend into the scrotum in the month of 7th due to the secretion of this testosterone hormone from the fetal part. From the fetal part. So why these testes should be descended into the scrotum? Why not they are remains within the abdominal cavity? So as in case of female individuals, ovaries are present within the abdominal cavity. Why only in male individuals? In male human beings or maybe the male mammals, so only the testes are gets descended into the scrotum. Why not these are present within the abdominal cavity? This is because of the abdominal cavity, whatever it possessing the body temperature, which is around about 37 degrees Celsius. The human body temperature is around about the 37 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the testis is unable to secrete, unable to synthesize the sufficient amount of the sperm cells. That means within the testis, the spermatogenesis process is not occurs at this temperature. At this temperature. It is required about 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, which is less compared to that of the 37 degrees Celsius of the body temperature. Compared to the 37 degrees Celsius, it should be less than that of 2 to 2.5. That means at the temperature of 34.5 or to 35 degrees Celsius, the testes are able to synthesize the sufficient amount of the sperm cells. Whatever the testes they are possessing the germinal epithelial cells, they are undergo the repeated mitotic as well as meiotic division, and they are able to produce a sufficient amount of the sperm cells. That's why the testis has to descend into the scrotum. Until unless it's not gets descended into the scrotum, it's not unable to descend into the scrotum, then the spermatogenesis process is not occurs. In some of the individuals, even though after birth also, the scrotum remains within the abdominal cavity. It is unable to descend into the scrotum. In such condition, after birth, within 1 or 2 years or maybe within 5 years, slowly the testes start to descend into the scrotum. This is because of the concentration of the testosterone in young ones. So it is artificially induced by using the artificial or the synthetic hormones like the testosterone. It is when we are injecting this synthetic hormones like the testosterone, we induce descending of this testis from the abdominal cavity into the scrotum in some cases. But whatever this testis is descended into the scrotal sac, the scrotal sac which has about the 34 degrees Celsius, or it is 34 to 35 degrees Celsius temperature, which is less than that of the abdominal cavity. So that's why in the mammals, especially the male mammals, the testes are always, the majority of the mammals, the male individuals, the testes are present outside the abdominal cavity. But whenever the testis temperature is too low, it is less than that of the 34 degrees Celsius. At that time, what happens here? So apart from this gubernaculum, some of the other muscles are also present within the testis. So these muscles are called the muscles present in the scrotum. The muscles of scrotum are cremaster muscles, dartos muscles. So these muscles, cremaster as well as dartos muscles, are responsible for the rhythmic contraction as well as relaxation process. Whenever the testis temperature is too low, it is less than that of 35 degrees Celsius. It is less than that of 34 degrees Celsius. Whenever the climatic condition is somewhat too cold, in such condition, the scrotum is start to shrink. This shrinkage of this scrotum is mainly because of the contraction of these cremaster muscles as well as dartos muscles. Results in that scrotum is becomes smaller and smaller. At the same time, it gets contract. These muscles are gets contract. When they are gets contract, the testis or gets start to move towards upward direction, and they are remain intact with that of the lower abdominal cavity. They are remains attached to the lower abdominal cavity, and they are retains and they are absorbs the temperature from the abdominal cavity and retains its normal temperature. Once it retains its normal temperature, again it start to descend into the and it gets enter into the outside the abdominal cavity. But whenever the testis temperature is normal, even if it is somewhat it increases, if it is increases, it is unable to maintain this temperature. If it suppose if it is 1 degree, if it is gets increases, at that time what happens here? So these cremaster as well as dartos muscles they are gets completely relaxed, and the testis as well as scrotum is move away from the lower abdominal cavity. That is, the scrotum as well as testis, these are lowered in position away from the abdominal cavity, lower abdominal cavity. So thus it maintains the temperature. So by maintaining the temperature, these testes they are involving in the synthesis of the sperm cells. That is, the synthesis of sperm cells from the spermatogonial cells or maybe the sperm mother cells is called as a spermatogenesis process. The spermatogenesis process is mainly occurs at this temperature in the testis. If this temperature is not maintained within the testis, the spermatogenesis process is not occurs. Even though if it is occurs, a very less amount of the sperm cells are going to be produced by the testis, that leads to some disorders. If you observe the testis is 4 to 5 centimeter in its length, 2 to 3 centimeter in its width, 4 to 5 centimeter in its length, 2 to 3 centimeter in its width. It is pinkish white in color. It is pinkish white in color, which is plum shaped ones, or it is oval in shape. Overall, plum shaped testis we are going to observe in the scrotal sac. So if you observe this the testis is mainly covered by three layers. One is tunica vaginalis, The second one is tunica albuginea. The third one is tunica vasculosa. Tunica vasculosa. So this one is tunica vaginalis layer. So this tunica vaginalis layer is one of the connective tissue layer. Is one of the connective tissue layer which provide the space for the movement of the testis within the scrotum. Within the scrotum, it mainly provide the space for the movement of the testis, increase and decrease during the contraction as well as the relaxation of the dartos as well as cremaster muscles as well as gubernaculum. So here it gets moved towards this side and also towards the center like this. The movement of the testis is mainly helps in because of the presence of this tunica vaginalis layer. Tunica vaginalis layer. Then just beneath this tunica vaginalis layer, here there is a. So this one is the tunica albuginea layer. So here is the tunica albuginea. It is a thick layer, thick connective tissue layer. This one is Tunica albuginea. So this is Tunica albuginea. It's the inner wall of this Tunica albuginea is internal inner wall. This is the inner wall of the Tunica albuginea. This inner wall of the Tunica albuginea, which in turn produces the numerous invaginations. It produces invaginations into the center part of the testis. Into the center part of the testis. This tunica albuginea is one of the thick connective tissue layer. It's a thick connective tissue layer. So the inner wall of this tunica albuginea gets innervated into the deeper part of the testis, and which in turn uses to the numerous septa. The inter produces numerous septa that helps in formation of the compartments. That helps in formation of the compartments. The testis gets divided into the various compartments. The compartments of the testis is referred as. So these are referred as. These are compartments. These compartments are called as testicular lobules. Testicular lobules. The such type of compartments are produced within the testis due to the innervating of this inner wall of the tunica albuginea in the middle part of the testis, or maybe inner part of the testis. That helps in formation of the testicular lobules. And about the 250 testicular lobules are produced within each testis. Each testis, they are mainly possessing the 250 testicular lobules. According to NCERT, it is 250 testicular lobules. But according to some of the reference books, it is given around about the 200 to 250. In some of the reference books, it is given around about the 200 to 300 testicular lobules are present. But according to the NCERT, it is 250. The testicular lobules are present in each testis. In each testis. So here is the septa. This one is the septa. But here these are referred as the testicular lobules. The total 250 testicular lobules are present in a single testis. Each testicular lobule has 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. That means in a single testicular lobule, if you observe, so there are about the 1 to 3 highly coiled, the seminiferous tubules are present. Highly coiled, the seminiferous tubules are present. So these are referred as seminiferous tubules. How many seminiferous tubules are there in each testicular lobule? 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules are there. On an average, if you take if you consider the 2 seminiferous tubules in each testis, the 2 into 250. That is, on an average, the 500 seminiferous tubules are present in a single testis. In a single testis, 500 seminiferous tubules are there per testis. If you consider both the testis, there are around about 1,000 seminiferous tubules are present in both the testis. 1,000 seminiferous tubules. If you consider the 3 maximum number of seminiferous tubules in a single testicular lobule, then the 250 into 3, around about the 750 the seminiferous tubules are present in a single testis. If it is considered both the testis, then we will get around about the 500 seminiferous tubules in both the testis. Whatever the seminiferous tubules are there, these seminiferous tubules are called as main structural and functional units of the testis. Main structural as well as functional units of the testis. Because so in seminiferous tubules of the testis only, the spermatogenesis process occurs. The spermatogenesis process occurs within the seminiferous tubules of the testis. This is the main structural and functional units of the testis or seminiferous tubules. Then, the one more layer is there that is called as a tunica vasculosa. It's called as tunica vasculosa. The tunica vasculosa is present just above the testicular lobules. Wherever the testicular lobules are there, just above the testicular lobules, a thin, loosely arranged connective tissue layer is there, which is mainly highly vascularized in nature. That means it is mainly possessing the numerous capillaries. The numerous capillaries are present within the testicular lobules and inner part of the testis. Just beneath the tunica albuginea, one more layer is there that is called as a tunica vasculosa. This tunica vasculosa they are possessing the capillaries. From these capillaries, the nutrients as well as the various substances are transferred or maybe transport to the testis. The exchange of the nutrients, the exchange of the mineral salts takes place due to the presence of these capillaries. Now, so this is the one testicular lobule, and here is another testicular lobule. Between these two testicular lobules, there is a space. This space is mainly possessing this tunica vasculosa layer also. That is, tunica vasculosa layer is present between the testicular lobules. I said it is one of the connective tissue layer, which is somewhat this loosely arranged connective tissue layer where they are rich in the capillaries. So here, this is the seminiferous tubule, one seminiferous tubule. This is another seminiferous tubule. Here is another seminiferous tubule. The 3 seminiferous tubules are present within the testicular lobule. So between these seminiferous tubules, whatever the space is present, this space is called as the interstitial space. It's called as interstitial space. This interstitial space is filled with the interstitial fluid. They are possessing the numerous capillaries. Because this is the tunica, it is possessing the tunica vasculosa layer. The tunica vasculosa is a connective tissue possessing the capillaries. Numerous capillaries are there, minute capillaries are there. They gets innervated into the deeper part of the testis. Testicular lobules, even though between the seminiferous tubules. So these capillaries are there. Apart from that, in interstitial space, some of the specialized cells are there. So these specialized cells are referred as the specialized group of cells are there. So these specialized group of cells are referred as interstitial cells. These are referred as interstitial cells. So these interstitial cells are also called as the Leydig cells. These are also called as Leydig cells. So these Leydig cells, it secretes the Leydig cell secretes the group of androgens called the testosterone. It's called as a testosterone. So whatever the testosterone is secreted by the Leydig cell, which is responsible for the expression of the secondary sexual characters by the male individual. The secretion of this androgens, that is testosterone, is mainly responsible for the maturation of the reproductive ducts, the glands. The maturation of the reproductive ducts as well as the glands activity is mainly under the control of the secretion secreted by the testis. Not its function is not under the control of the anterior lobe of pituitary or it is hypothalamus. The reproductive duct maturation as well as the glands secretion is mainly under the control of the testis. Under the control of testis. Whatever the testis secretes the secretions. So these secretions are mainly controls the activities of these associated glands as well as the maturation of the reproductive ducts. So apart from that, this testosterone is playing a vital role in the expression of the secondary sexual characters in male individuals. So what changes are occur? So whenever the testosterone secretion goes on increases, increase in the testosterone level, the secretion of the testosterone in male individual is responsible for the expression of the secondary sexual characters. That may leads to, it brings some morphological changes in an individual. Morphological changes. External characters, that is the development of hairs on face. Development of hairs on face. Then pubic hairs development we are going to observe. The underarm hairs development we are going to observe. The body hairs development we are going to observe. Whenever the individual attains the puberty, whenever the male partner attains the puberty, until unless the individual is not attains the puberty, here the unable to secrete any hormones, unable to secrete this testosterone hormone. Until that, what happens here in the juvenile phase, there is a growth of the reproductive structures we are going to observe. So that's why here once this male individual attains the puberty, so immediately after attaining the puberty, the maturation of these gonads occurs. So these gonads are stimulated by the hormone secreted by the anterior lobe of pituitary, like FSH as well as LH hormone. The anterior lobe of pituitary is in turn gets stimulated by the GnRH secreted by the hypothalamus, and these FSH as well as LH they stimulates the testis. That is here the Leydig cells are mainly stimulated by. The Leydig cells are mainly stimulated by one of the hormones secreted by the anterior lobe of pituitary, that is called as LH hormone. Interstitial cell stimulating hormone it is. It is also called as interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Luteinizing hormone is also referred as interstitial cell stimulating hormone because this luteinizing hormone stimulates the interstitial cells. interstitial in the between the seminiferous tubule, whatever the interstitial space is there, which possessing some group of cells. These are called as Leydig cells. These are gets stimulated by the LH hormone. This LH hormone, when it is gets stimulates this Leydig cells, the Leydig cell secretes the group of androgens called as the testosterone. The testosterone is responsible for the expression of the secondary sexual characters in male individual. The best example here is the development of hairs, especially the pubic hairs, the facial hairs, underarm hairs, the body hairs are gets start to develop. Apart from that, the broad shoulder. This is mainly because of the shoulder bones expansion. The breastbone is not well developed. Not well developed. Narrowing of pubic symbiosis. It is a cervical bone. Cervix bone becomes narrow. Unusual deposition of the fat content. The fat deposition is irregular. The individual becoming more aggressive. Individual becomes more aggressive. Behavioral behavior is somewhat it is aggressive nature. Behavior of an individual. Apart from that, some of the other changes like the individual possessing the low pitched voice. Low pitched voice. The individual sexually, the individual is becomes a more aggressive in nature. Broader shoulder is there. Breastbone is not well developed here. Rudimentary mammary glands we are going to observe. Fat deposition is irregular. Pubic symphysis gets reduced. Okay, not expanded, not widened. It becomes narrow. Pubic symphysis becomes narrow. Apart from that, the aggressiveness of behavioral changes we are going to observe. Low pitched voice we are going to observe. The rough skin we are going to observe. So these are some of the secondary sexual characters are expressed by the individual whenever the testosterone hormone secretion goes on increases. Whenever its secretion goes on increases. Now, if you observe the structure of seminiferous tubule, if you observe the structure of seminiferous tubule, so this is one seminiferous tubule. This is one single seminiferous tubule we are going to observe. The seminiferous tubules of testis are mainly possessing the two types of cells. One of the type of cell is the germinal epithelial cell. The second one is irregular large cells called as Sertoli cells. These are Sertoli cells. So here we are going to observe the two types of cells in seminiferous tubules. This is one type of cell which is large irregular ones. So between these cells, a series of the cube-like cells are there. These cells are referred as germinal epithelial cells. A single layer of germinal epithelial cells we are going to observe. Single layer of germinal epithelium. Only one layer. So such type of germinal epithelial cells are also referred as the primordial germ cells. Primordial germ cells. These are also referred as the spermatogonial mother cells. Spermatogonial mother cells. And here it is the Sertoli cell. This is the Sertoli cell, which is a large one, and it is irregular in shape. The single layer of germinal epithelium usually made up of the cuboidal epithelial tissue. A single layer of cuboidal epithelial cells are present, which helps in formation of the germinal epithelium within the testis, where the tunica albuginea layer is there. This tunica albuginea, its inner layer is mainly lined by the seminiferous tubule is mainly lined by the single layer of germinal epithelium, which is made up of cuboidal epithelium tissue cells, and these cells are undergo the repeated mitotic division as well as meiosis division. So these cells are undergo the spermatogenesis process. The spermatogenesis process is mainly induced whenever the FSH hormone secretion goes on increases. Whenever the FSH hormone secretion goes on increases. Apart from that, whatever the lactic cells which are secretes here, the secretion is called as a testosterone. The testosterone is also helps in the spermatogenesis process. The testosterone, along with that of the FSH hormone, which in turn stimulates the germinal epithelial cells, so these germinal epithelial cells produces some other type of cells. It is called as the spermatogonial cells. The spermatogonial cells are produced whenever these cells are undergo mitotic division. So these spermatogonial cells undergo the meiosis division. Before it will undergo the meiosis division, it will undergo the growth phase. When these are undergo the growth phase, so here its size is somewhat increases. So this is primary spermatocyte cell. This primary spermatocyte cell is undergo the meiosis division, is in turn produces the another type of cell is called as the secondary spermatocyte cell. This secondary spermatocyte cell is intermodified into the spermatids. Is intermodified into spermatids. So formed spermatids as well as spermatogonial cell, they remains intact with that of the surface of the Sertoli cells. They remain attached with the surface of the Sertoli cells. And these spermatids, they are intermodified into the spermatozoa, the sperm cells. The sperm cells are moved towards, even though the sperm cells are also remains attached with that of the Sertoli cells, because the Sertoli cell is mainly provide the nourishment to these spermatogonia, spermatocyte cells, as well as spermatids. Then later on it will be entered into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule. Lumen of the seminiferous tubule. So now whatever these germinal epithelial cells are there, these are undergo the mitotic and meiotic division, results in formation of the spermatids, spermatogonia and spermatozoa. The spermatids, spermatogonia, they are remain intact with that of the Sertoli cells. Now, the whatever the Sertoli cells are there, these Sertoli cells are now they are provide the nourishment to these the Sertoli cells. So these are also called as nurse cells. So why they are referred as nurse cells? They mainly provide the nourishment to the developing spermatids or maybe spermatogonia. Even though in the early stage of the formation of the spermatozoa, the spermatozoans are also nourished by the Sertoli cells. Apart from that, these are also referred as sustentacular cells. These are also called as sustentacular cells. The subset of Sertoli cells, they mainly involved in various functions. The Sertoli cells secretes androgen binding proteins. It secretes androgen binding proteins. So whatever the Sertoli cell secretes the androgen binding proteins, it is mainly helps in the concentration of or concentrating the testosterone within the seminiferous tubules. The concentration of the testosterone in seminiferous tubules is mainly brought by the androgen binding proteins secreted by the Sertoli cells. Apart from that, the Sertoli cell secretes one more hormone is called as inhibin hormone. Sertoli cells is also secretes one more hormone is called as inhibin hormone. So this inhibin hormone is secreted by the nerve cells whenever these nerve cells gets stimulated by the testosterone. The testosterone, it's a concentrated testosterone which in turn stimulates the Sertoli cells to help in secretion of this inhibin. The main function of this inhibin is which inhibits the secretion of FSH and LH hormone, which inhibits the anterior lobe secretions. The anterior lobe secretes the secretions is called as gonadotropins. So these gonadotropins like FSH and LH hormone secretion goes decreases whenever the inhibin secretion goes on increases. At the same time, the Sertoli cells is also secretes one of the hormones referred as anti-Mullerian hormone. This anti-Mullerian hormone is mainly playing a vital role in inhibition of the formation of the Mullerian duct. Mullerian duct formation gets inhibited. It prevents the formation of the Mullerian duct in male individuals. So that's why the anti-Mullerian hormone is playing a vital role in the inhibition of the formation of Mullerian duct. At the same time, once it gets prevented, the formation of the Mullerian duct, this Mullerian duct is modified into Wolffian duct. So that's why the testis gets descended through the inguinal canal and also Wolffian duct into the scrotal sac. The Wolffian duct modification is mainly occurs due to the secretion of this anti-Mullerian factor. It is secreted by the Sertoli cells. And one more, the last function of this Sertoli cell is it mainly provide the nourishment. So that's why it's called as nurse cells. That's why the Sertoli cells are referred as nurse cells. So this is about the seminiferous tubule. So tomorrow I'll continue the beginning.